Well, hello, LinkedIn. We're live again. Happy Thursday. Mike Hamilton just told me he's hydrated out of his mind.
Why do you
So,
disclose things like that?
because you say funny things,
Huh,
and then I know to share them with the world. It's what I do.
okay.
So, sorry
Yes,
about that.
I've
Sorry,
become
sorry.
a committed green tea drinker, and
Have you?
oh yeah, oh
Why?
yeah. Because drinking too much coffee, I'm not gonna tell you. You're
No,
just
no, 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 no. None of us want to know that. Nope,
no.
nope, 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 nope. Hey. So I want to talk about the best phrase anyone has used this week.
Hmm.
Yesterday, you, Drex DeFord, we were talking about the healthcare data breach and the healthcare data breach report he did rather. And he came, I loved one of his phrases. I typed it and I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. Never waste a good crisis.
I
I
actually think
love that.
that comes from politics. I think.
I know it probably does come from politics, but like I love it for this. And it's because, one of the things we hate is FUD. But when you're in these jobs, you got to, the crises are the things that you prepare for.
Well, and they get people's attention.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when we're all sharing the same piece of information, and everybody's got some anxiety about it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
gives us something to focus on because I need focus.
Uh, you do. Okay, Mike, you're hydrated. Look right at the camera, and we're going to talk about Kevin Mitnick. Uh, so you did an interview with Bank Info Security and Info Security. It's the same journalists about how you got into security, your path to becoming CISO. It was entertaining. And Kevin Mitnick.
Yeah, it wasn't funny at the time. Uh, honestly, when the FBI basically rubber hoses your girlfriend trying to find out what kind of criminal you are because of all these things that have happened. In fact, my fingerprints were on these. That was not funny at the time. The podcast was fun to do, but I was trying to make a point there. In the olden days, nobody had a degree in cybersecurity because the degree programs, and in fact, the word itself, didn't even exist. So either you stayed up all night figuring stuff out, or you decided to go do something else, right? I mean, you had to stick with it in a completely different way. And the point I was trying to make, that translates to how we hire here. Yes, we're interested in your educational experience, but your curiosity and your willingness to experiment on your own are far more important.
And I put the link in the LinkedIn chat if anyone wants to listen. Mike is entertaining, and he thinks he's funny. So you'll have to listen and see if that's true. Um, hey, today is also the ransomware demonstration. It's going to be more interesting than listening to me drone on. And more interesting than you listening to you drone on. Uh, Boy, oh, I need more coffee, Mike. Maybe I need to be hydrated
Maybe you
today.
need a
So,
green tea,
yeah,
Jake.
yeah. So the ransomware demonstration today. You want to tell people about that? And I'm going to put
Yeah.
and I'm going to put a link in the chat.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this because number one, I don't have to do it. But more importantly, these are folks that are highly technical that are going to demonstrate this from the perspective of an attacker, right? So Jeremy Johnson's going to run the show, and he will be joined by our CTO, Mike Simon, and one of our consultants, Aleth Dennis, who is a DEF CON black badge. So,
Mike wishes he was a black badge.
yeah, I wish I was a black badge. All right. All right. Well, let's talk about what happened this week because that's why we're here. Another
Wait.
exhausting week.
So hang on before you get into that. So the link the link there is in the chat. We have hundreds of people signed up to see this. And if you come for no other reason, it's going to be the first time we try to play video in our webinar platform. So you might be coming to see me totally fail at that. In which case, it'll be fun that way. But otherwise, you'll learn something.
That'll be
So,
entertaining.
all right. So now, Mike, what happened this week?
Okay. So where to start? We should probably recap on some things that we've been tracking for a while, right? it is being announced now by the White House, and specifically this is Ann Neuberger, who is formerly NSA and is now Deputy National Security Advisor for, I think, cybersecurity and emerging technology. And she, through the White House, were saying that there are something more like 100 private sector organizations that were hit by the SolarWinds thing. Okay. Nice round number. I like how that works. She's saying that this is going to take months to investigate. The victim list is going to get larger. Probably not a surprise to anyone. I think the most interesting thing about that is that nice round number of 100. What is a surprise is what just happened in France. So there's a company, it's Centrion, that makes network monitoring and management software. Their product was compromised, and versions that were backdoored were shipped to their customers, which were then accessed through the compromised product. Does that sound familiar?
Does sound familiar, a little bit like SolarWinds, right?
Mhm.
I mean, so this is now a thing. This is the new thing. This is the tactic that has been developed with a lot of planning.
Mhm.
Microsoft said it was 1,000 developers involved in the SolarWinds compromise.
Yeah, I don't know how true that is. There's some suggestion, there's a little bit of, hey, go look over there, 1,000 developers. Don't look at how our Office 365 credentials got smashed. But there were clearly a lot of resources poured into these attacks. And, also interesting is the fact, we talked about this last week, all the security companies were compromised. Microsoft, which is talking about itself now more as a security company than, a product company, SonicWall, Mimecast, Malwarebytes, CrowdStrike, FireEye. So one has to assume, or this is highly suggestive of, that this same tactic was going to be used to compromise their products as well. And if so, that's really terrifying, right? This actor, and everybody says is the Russians, would have access to essentially every U.S. company and government organization. I mean, that should be getting some attention. I think, the conversations that are going on in the NSA, DHS right now are a little more agitated and alarmed than just the stuff that we're reading in the news about all this.
Yeah, for sure. And, what are we doing about all this?
Well, Congress is going to hold hearings.
That always works.
Always, but the administration is, I think, diving into this with both feet, and people leading the charge here know a lot of things about our capabilities that aren't public and that we don't know anything about. So I suspect that ultimately, whatever kind of retaliation, accountability, whatever you want to call it, we're just not going to know how this is resolved because we're not cleared to know.
Well, maybe you're not cleared to know, but I know. No, just kidding.
No.
I have that super secret marketing clearance.
Yeah.
Marketing knows all, Mike. Marketing knows all. So what else happened this week?
Let's get back to that marketing knows all in a minute. So there was a whole bunch of law enforcement activity that actually does seem to be moving the needle, right? Last week, remember, we had talked about the fact that Microsoft had, been involved in taking down this Emotet botnet, and it was really international law enforcement. It was cooperation across a lot of borders and a lot of agencies. And that in itself was surprising because the trend has been for the private sector to fill the void left by, government unwillingness to take action on these things. But it was international law enforcement. And I had a fantastic conversation this week with someone who was actually involved. Philippe Aman is with the Europol Cyber Division. And he briefed me on how difficult it is to work across international boundaries to pull something like this off. Without getting into a lot of details, there was lots of think tanky policy stuff about norms of behavior and appropriate deterrence measures. And that was a really fascinating conversation. I really enjoyed that. I look forward to the next time that I get to talk to Philippe. What else? The DOJ indicted some Korean military actors for their role in the Sony hack, the global WannaCry ransomware event, and a bunch of other crimes. And I think it was The Hill that call them the world's leading bank robbers because of the millions they have stolen from currency exchanges, banks,
That's pretty good, right?
extortion with ransomware. Well, they're good at it, you know. And then one more, parts of the eGregor ransomware gang were taken down. Their computer equipment was seized. Information on victims and a bunch of evidence was gained. And I think more arrests will be coming when they hunt them down, and B, the botnet will probably, or the gang will probably get back to work pretty quickly.
eGregor, huh?
eGregor, who names these things? Wow.
Is that like, so are we going to start all ransomware gang names with E now, the way that, e-commerce, eGregor, is that a thing?
Well, I wanted to do it with I, but Tim Apple said he'd sue.
iGregor sounds like I am. That doesn't work, Mike. That was a bad idea, Mike. That's why you don't work in marketing.
It's a bad joke, too.
Okay, yeah. Mike, all of my jokes are good. But seriously, so how much of a dent does this all make in cybercrime? I mean, they're taking down the eGregor gang, but does it make a difference?
Not much. I mean, look, it's so attractive, right? It's easy. It pays well. You're really not likely to be caught, but the large scale infrastructure, the gangs and the component organizations, that put all of this together, they're in the sights. And, when enough of these characters end up in jail, we may get a bit of a break. There's also, just sticking on the law enforcement theme, there's a couple of FBI bulletins out this week that are worth mentioning. One is that the transportation industry, specifically rail, is being targeted right now, and awareness needs to be way up about the phishing that's going on right now that is probably trying to get you to give a password so that somebody can walk into your network. And the other one is about how critical infrastructure is being targeted for ransomware. Again, because the impact of disruption is so bad, they cannot experience downtime, and they are likely to pay. So hope that doesn't develop. We've been seeing these things going on with water utilities, and they've been talking about energy for a long time. We know a dam has been compromised, and none of that bodes well.
Yeah, and of course, we talked about the water thing in Florida. Although that looks like not a sophisticated actor.
So I love that term. I'm going to use that.
Which?
Not a sophisticated actor.
I stole that from you.
I know
you didn't. You didn't know that. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? I hate that. I hate calling these people actors. Like I'm still against that. Like, can we? But
if I called them what I want, we'd get kicked off of LinkedIn and Google.
Yeah, but like these are ne'er-do-wells. We remember we had this. I was looking for good names. They're ne'er-do-wells. They're miscreants. They're bad people. They're give me more in the chat here. What are they? I need more bad names for them. We're just gonna cycle through all the bad miscreant ne'er-do-well names.
There, I told you what I thought, but I was on mute.
Mike, you can't say that, not even on mute. Hey, but I have good news. We work with a fair number of hospitals, and we had a good save with one of them.
Oh yeah,
one of the analysts in the Critical Insight SOC found a contractor in one of our customers' networks with a compromised device, and we were able to stop it before it spread. So hey. Like that, that's why we come to work every day. Like
that is exactly why we come to work every day.
Like those things, that made my week.
Yeah,
that made my month. Like that's why we do this.
Making sure a hospital doesn't get melted. It's a good day.
It is a good day. It's a good week. I mean, come on, let's get these miscreants, ne'er-do-wells, all of them. So, health. What else is going on in health?
Let's see. News of the week is about lawsuits. Really, lots of them. In 2020, there were, I think, 13 lawsuits by patients suing health organizations for losing records, which actually ended up in harm. Right, so they have standing. And in addition to that, there's a pile of class action lawsuits lining up against Blackbaud. Remember, that was the organization that did record keeping and fundraising for charities, hospitals, philanthropic organizations. They lost records, and then all of the hospitals had to do breach reports because they were the hospital's records they lost. But the hospital has to hold up their hand and say, hey, we did it. And so again, part of the third party problem that's now turning into this gigantic litigation boom for lawyers.
Just what we need. Litigation booms for lawyers.
Yeah.
And I think you once said that class action suits after data breaches, has become the new ambulance chasing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's actually sad but true.
So what about privacy? There seems to be movement at the federal level so we can avoid like 50 different state laws, all led by California, right?
Yeah. I think we'll all believe it when we see it, right? We'll probably get to 40 states before we get federal legislation. There was an interesting survey that I read from, chief information security officers. They claim that privacy regulations are their number one concern. All of the do not track me laws that are coming out are going to impact companies that are trying to monetize your online behavior for ad targeting. And those other companies that have nothing to do with that are still going to have to comply with the remove my data requests, right? And so everybody's got to tool up for this. And there's a lot of, consternation about how all this is going to get pulled off. On the technical side, there's a story about tracking pixels in email becoming an endemic privacy concern. And the way these work is that when an email is opened, the tracking pixel is automatically downloaded. You don't have to do anything. And this lets a server somewhere owned by a marketer know that the email has been read. Okay. Servers also record the number of times email is open, the IP address, link to user's location, and device usage. Creepy.
From the marketing guy? Yeah, that's creepy. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, Jake, don't be the pixel tracking marketing guy, okay?
All right, but look, on the other side of that, if you got a bunch of emails that didn't mean anything to you and, weren't relevant, you'd be annoyed. But, if you know who is reading your email, you can, as a marketer, you can curate content for things that they're more interested in. Like, hey, do you want to see Mike's LinkedIn Live?
I don't know. Just the principle of the whole thing is just, I don't know, wrong. I mean, it's, we built this system, here's all this free stuff we can use. And because we're capitalists and everything is about consumption. And so fueling consumption is the way we keep our economy going, right? We are a consumer side economy. So I get it. I get why we have to do it. But just, if you just like send me a newspaper insert instead.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I think after this, we need a laugh. What do you got for a kicker? And just a reminder for people who don't watch every week, the kicker is the story at the end of a newscast that makes you smile like the water skiing squirrel. And by the way, I know the guy who put the water skiing squirrel on TV. But, it's a different story for a different day. Mike, give us a kicker.
Skateboarding dog was much better. Okay. So since we're talking about health and privacy, I don't know if this is funny, ironic, or whatever you want to call it, but apparently there's a group of major hospitals forming a company to capitalize, monetize patient data. And the company, Truveta Incorporated, promises to preserve the privacy of the millions of patients whose records will be sold. Man, that's a bold statement. That is a bold statement.
So that's the cyber equivalent of waving a sign that says, or wearing a sign that says "kick me," right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like when Oracle came out with this slogan that they had on all those beers, Oracle Unbreakable, which lasted about 48 hours. Hanging that kind of target on yourself is just ill-advised.
Hey, no security awareness training this week,
Right.
but there is one next week. And if you go to ci.security at the very top of the site is a link to that and to the webinar today. And Mike, you're going to update the presentation deck, right?
I am.
Yeah, you are, because you work for marketing, and that's what I'm telling you to do. Hey, somebody in the chat asked for a joke. And so I'm going to tell you the joke that that one of my children told me recently. You have to keep in mind that's where it came from. And it's a joke, Mike, that you have to tell on an elevator. Do you know why?
Why?
Because it works on so many levels.
Okay, go ahead and tell the joke.
That was the joke.
Mm.
All right.
Wait a minute. Not to be outdone, since we talked about, I started out being an oceanographer. If a cash register drawer opens very slowly, is that a glacial till? Come on, man. That's a great geology joke.
You're on mute. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Maybe we wish you were on mute. No, that's good. Yeah, that's good. All right. Maybe we'll have to do like bad dad jokes at the end of these now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a thing.
Maybe that's the thing.
Maybe it'll work on a lot of levels. All right, everybody. Well, thank you. Have a good Thursday. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye.